Hey, this is Lincoln with In the Band. In this video, we're going to be covering the topic of chords in music and learning how to create chords and chord progressions in BandLab. This video is part of a series about the basic tools of music theory and how to use these tools in composition or songwriting. If you haven't watched our other videos on rhythm and melody yet, we recommend watching those, especially the one on melody, before watching this one. A chord is multiple notes, generally 3 or more, played at the same time. Just like scales, there are many different types of chords, but two of the most important are called major chords and minor chords. Major and minor chords are both 3-note chords, or triads. A major chord is made up of the notes 1, 3, and 5 in its corresponding major scale. A minor chord is made up of the notes 1, 3, and 5 in its corresponding minor scale. So if we look at C major, the C major scale goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Note 1 is C, note 3 is E, and note 5 is G. So the C major chord is C, E, and G, played all at the same time. Another way to think about building chords is in terms of steps or intervals. To make a major chord using this method, start on your root note, go up a major third, which is an interval of 4 half steps. Then from that second note, go up a minor third, which is an interval of 3 half steps. To make a minor chord, you can use those same intervals just in the opposite order. So starting on your root note, you go up a minor third, then from that second note, you go up a major third, and there's your minor chord. You may notice that the only difference between a major chord and a minor chord is that middle note. So to go from C major to C minor, all you have to do is take that middle note, E, and drop it a half step to E flat. In both major and minor chords, the interval between the bottom note and the top note is called a perfect fifth, an interval of 7 half steps. A chord progression is a series of chords played one after another. In popular music, many songs feature chord progressions which usually repeat throughout each section of the song. Some songs even have chord progressions that repeat throughout the whole song. A chord progression can be anywhere from 2 chords to, well, really as many chords as you want, but 4 chord progressions are the most common. Probably the most common chord progression in the history of popular music is the 1-5-6-4 progression. We'll talk about what those numbers mean just a little later, but you can hear this progression in such songs as Don't Stop Believing by Journey, No One by Alicia Keys, I'm Yours by Jason Mraz, When I Come Around by Green Day, and so many others. Let's look at how to build the 1-5-6-4 progression in the key of C major in the BandLab mobile app. So we're going to use the same tool for this as we've used in our previous BandLab mobile demos, which is the MIDI Instruments tool. So select MIDI Instruments. And like we talked about with melodies, you can use pretty much any kind of different instrument you want for this except for drums. I'm going to select a keyboard again, and this time I'm going to go with an electric piano. And again, just like we've done in our previous videos, we're going to turn on the input quantize in the upper right and the metronome in the lower right. And then let's also go into the settings and set the key of our song to C major. Okay, so the 1-5-6-4 chord progression in the key of C major goes like this. C major, made up of the notes C, E, and G, and then G major, made up of the notes G, B, and D, then A minor, made up of the notes A, C, and E, and finally F major, made up of the notes F, A, and C. I'm going to play each chord for a full bar. We're in 4/4, so that means I'm going to hold each chord for 4 beats. Okay, back to the main window, trim the edges and drag it back to the beginning, and let's hear how it sounds. The reason it's called the 1-5-6-4 progression has to do with scales as well. The numbers correspond to the scale degree of the root note in each of the chords, scale degree meaning each note's position in that scale. Still in C major, C is the first note, so the C chord is 1. G is the 5th note, so the G chord is 5, A is the 6th note, so the A chord is 6, and F is the 4th note, so the F chord is 4. But why are C, G, and F all major while A is minor? Well, remember that we're in the key of C major, which has all of the same notes as the C major scale. All of the notes in the chords C major, G major, and F major are within that key, but the chord A major has a C sharp in it, which is not within the key. The chord A minor, however, has a C instead of a C sharp, so we use that instead of A major. Now that's not to say that you can't use any chords that don't fit within the key, it's just that these are generally the most natural sounding ones. But if you want to experiment with other chords, you totally can. Actually, let's look at how to alter that 1-5-6-4 progression a bit using the BandLab browser app. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of different things we can do to change this progression. Let's start out by making that F major chord into an F minor by taking its middle note, A, and making it into an A flat. We can even change a whole chord if we want to. For example, we can take our second chord, G major, and make it into a D major just by dragging it up here like this. Another cool and simple way you can change the sound of a chord progression is just to change the order of the chords. So let's go back to our original 1-5-6-4 progression, and we're just going to shift it around, so instead of going C, G, A, F, it's now going to go C, A, F, G. So instead of being a 1-5-6-4 progression, it's now a 1-6-4-5 progression, which is actually a really common chord progression too. We can also use the same feature we used to set the key to C major to change the key of our song. So if I want to make this into a 1-5-6-4 progression in the key of D major, all I have to do is go up to where it says C major here, drag down to D major, click Adjust, and now our progression is in D major. No matter what order the notes in a chord are in, it's still the same chord. For example, the C major chord is made up of the notes C, E, and G. It doesn't matter whether they're in that order, or E, G, C, or G, C, E, or whatever else. As long as it's those three notes, it's still a C major chord. When the notes of a chord are in a different order than usual, it's called an inversion, but again, it's still the same chord. An arpeggio is when you have the notes in a chord played one after another instead of all together. An arpeggio is technically not a chord. It's really more like a melody built out of the notes of a chord, but arpeggios can be used to imply chords. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.